Hi, good morning. My name's Rich and we're Consumer Hub. We focus on recruiting, marketing, innovation and sales professionals across the FMCG sector. And this is the FMCG podcast where we speak with some of the most exciting people and brands who we can get hold of and hear their story and hear their insights into leadership within the sector. Today we've got Louise from Popcorn Kitchen here with us on the show, which we're really excited about. And we're going to hear all about the Popcorn Kitchen story and also a bit about Louise's career and her insights into leadership as well. Louise, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us today. Could you just, for anyone listening or watching, just give us a quick insight into you and your business and your story?
Hey there, Richard. And hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here to talk about my favourite thing, which is my brilliant business, the Popcorn Kitchen. So we've been going since 2012, where we started popping at festivals. And then in 2017, we realised we had some fantastic products, some really good quality that we wanted to take to the trade. So we developed our range of fabulous products. And I'm here with Richard to show him some of those and to share that with you as well.
Oh, smashing. Well, we've actually reviewed some of the Popcorn Kitchen products, which we'll come on to later, and they are really, really tasty. So I can vouch for that. And if you're watching, listening, you're feeling hungry already, then you should go and check them out. My particular favourite was the lemon drizzle. I've not had lemon drizzle before on a popcorn, and that was absolutely outstanding. Loved it. It was great.
Oh, Richard, I can't tell you the lemon drizzle. So, just to let you know something about our products, all of our products are based on something of nostalgia, of something that I really enjoy. So, lemon drizzle is a great example of that. So, I really love lemon drizzle cake.
Yeah.
It is brilliant, but it's stodgy and quite fattening.
Yeah, true.
So, I wanted something which was light but gave me that lemon drizzle hit that reminded me of the cake. So I created a popcorn with it, and it's so much more better for you. In fact, actually, popcorn is a more permissible snack. Do you know that,
I
Richard?
did actually,
It
but it does
is.
surprise me.
It, it's amazing. It's one grain of corn, and it's particularly popular with students. And one of the reasons why is not only is it a great snack to share with your mates, but also it's quite high in fibre and it's got a good level of protein in as well. Were you
Oh,
aware of
nice.
that, Richard?
I wasn't. I'll have to add it to my shakes. Maybe not
Ah,
popcorn, but I'll have it with my shakes. The
oh, that's brilliant.
But just talk us through some of the props in the background because you've got like an absolutely
Yeah,
huge
no.
bottle there, which is fascinating
Right.
me.
So I don't know if you're old enough for this, Richard, right? But back in the 70s, we used to be able to get really big bottles of whiskey, Bell's whiskey,
Yeah.
and we used to put money in it.
Ah,
Anyway,
yeah.
my dad had one of these. He drank the whiskey, he gave the bottle to me, and I put my pennies in it. And the bottom fell out halfway
Oh
when it was
no,
filled halfway.
rotten luck.
Dreadful. So what happened was we created our own giant bottle.
Nice.
So here we are, hand popped popcorn in a giant bottle that becomes a money bottle afterwards.
So
So
you'd
you
have
can
quite
buy
a few
it for your
quids in there if
kids.
you saved up.
Yeah, you can buy it for your kid. There, Richard, for your
Nice,
little boy.
nice.
And then you can put it in there, put all his money in there. You can put his cards in there if you wanted to.
Probably
So
would,
this
yeah. And
is
my keys.
this is no surprise that it's the number one best-selling line at Christmas.
I bet.
We sell absolutely boatloads of this, and this product has evolved over time as well. So originally, we used to buy this bottle from Italy,
Oh yeah.
but so it came a long way, and when we got it, it was broken, and oh la la la. Anyway, we want to be a more sustainable company. So what we did, we went in with a joint venture with a company called MPS, who are
Yeah.
in the northeast of England. We bought a kit from China with them, and we shipped it over, and they now make all of our giant bottles for us. The
All right.
quality is loads better, and
Brilliant.
more importantly, we've cut down on our miles, our
Yeah.
road miles. It's more sustainable, and also it doesn't break.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
again, we've got a really robust
So the
product
bottom's not going to
for our
fall out of
size.
that one. There you go.
So it's all in us. And we had a massive coup this year. I mean, I can't believe this. So we've got titchy tiny marketing spend.
Yeah.
And Joe Wicks actually got hold of this bottle and put it onto his Instagram
Amazing.
page. And first of all, he just took a picture and he showed that he'd eaten some of it. And the week after, get this, he actually showed a video of him in bed with our giant bottle eating our giant bottle, and he actually called this his Radox. I was like, oh my God. So, so our target market for popcorn is women between 25 to 45, families,
Yeah.
because it's a really family eat. And Joe Wicks, wow, he is the target market. I mean, through lockdown, every
He's the
morning I had
influencer, isn't
my
he, for
little,
that
oh my
demographic?
God, he's a massive input. Anyway, the sales on with Joe Wicks that week, those 2 weeks were incredible. So I'm ever grateful for Joe Wicks, not only helping me through lockdown, but also for supporting our brand. So
I mean,
we're really grateful.
that's an absolute PR home run, Louise. Like, are you able to share?
I know.
Like, was that organic? Have you been doing a bit of PR outreach? Like, what was the context of that, or did he just pick it up?
The thing is, we have a bit, again, we don't have a lot of PR money. We've
Yeah,
got a little bit of PR money, and we've got a really good guy called Ian Hills.
yeah,
He
Ian's
really
great.
helps us out.
Yeah,
He's a good lad. And then we do a bit of social media, but not we don't really have the funds to do that. So when he came up, when Joe Wicks got hold of it, it was incredible. So I
oh,
don't know who
brilliant,
bought it for him or whether he bought it for himself, but we're
amazing.
thank you very much whoever did that.
Hey Joe, if you're listening,
And
and I'm sure you are, big thanks.
he's amazing. We
Yeah.
love Joe Wicks. So
What provoked you to set the business up originally then? Because obviously you it sounds like there's a big link there to you, kind of nostalgia for you in terms of the flavors. But what was the why popcorn and what makes it
well,
different?
the thing is, I've always been in food. My whole career, I've been in food, and actually, through the latter part of my career before Popcorn Kitchen, I was always working in impulse categories, so
Yeah.
snacking
Okay.
categories.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
the sales director at KP Snacks, so it always really interested me, and also. I love snacking, and more importantly, the UK, we are the snacking category of the world. So I think there's like
Snack
2 billion.
Central.
It's worth about 2 billion quid. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just immense. And actually, popcorn in itself, there is mass market popcorn out
Mm,
there, but there is definitely there was an opportunity for a more premium brand, which is more innovative in terms of the gifting side, as well as
yeah. Yeah.
providing really nice packs as well. So I think actually the my experience of being in snacking categories and actually the very impulse nature of them made it really appealing to me. And it's funny, I did I had a really good career, but I had this coach, and she sat down with me and, what do you really want to do? And actually it came out that I was quite entrepreneurial. In one of my companies they called me the Maverick, because I always did things a little bit different, never really followed the
Yeah.
mold of a salesperson, but that's what I did and was very successful at it. So that's how it kind of came about in terms of the snacking category. And then in terms of what makes us different, so you have mass market, so the brands that are mass market, which you put a grain of corn in one end and it comes out popcorn at the
Yeah.
other, don't get touched by hand. Ours, Popcorn Kitchen, so it is like you would make in the kitchen. So if I'm at home making popcorn, and I used to burn the pans when I was little, which really infuriated my mother. But anyway, I pop the corn, I coat it in chocolate, and we eat it at home. And so that is exactly how we make this popcorn. And for the convenience of all our consumers out there, they can just open the bag and they can just enjoy the popcorn. So it's all handmade, it's all hand finished. We use a mushroom corn. So I don't know if you know about corn,
No, I'm
but
a
it can
novice.
either be well,
Popcorn novice.
there's two kinds of corn. So the produced stuff tends to be a butterfly corn, and it tends to pop like that. So you get quite a lot of bits in the bottom, and it's not very nice. We use mushroom corn, which pops like this,
Mm,
and it does two things. Firstly, it gives you a better crunch. And secondly, when we are coating it with, salted caramel or chocolate, it's easier to coat, and we can get a really, really fine coating of all these flavors. So you don't lose, it doesn't become lemon drizzle overpower and no corn. It's kind of like a really lovely balance of that.
mm.
And the second thing that makes us different is we do have loads of innovation. So just one moment, just one moment. Don't go away.
Is this a live launch? Wow, look at
No, so
that.
this,
A
right.
yard. Wow.
Yeah, right. So again, as I told you earlier, Richard, everything has a nostalgic twist on it. So
Like
back in
we
the
love
day
the
when I
selection
worked,
box. We thought that was so innovative.
ah,
We thought it was fantastic.
ah,
Yeah.
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 So the selection box. Oh my God, you're going to love our innovation for the selection box.
That is
This
great.
was launched last year. It's got all the six varieties in. It's fantastic. Look at that.
That's
Look at
brilliant.
that.
I mean, we're always
Fantastic.
really disappointed in our house if we don't get at least a couple of selection boxes. And yeah, if people want to mix it up outside of Cadbury's, winner just adds to the excitement, doesn't it?
Well, there's other benefits to my selection box.
You go on.
As you would expect. So I don't know about you, but the last time I bought a Cadbury selection box, it had really small bars in it. It had a plastic
Yeah.
tray, and I was left quite disappointed because when I was growing up, we used to have full-size bars in the products, and now they just don't do that because they want to hit a price point. We don't do that. In our selection box, you get a full 30-gram pack this size,
Mm,
so six of those, all different flavors in there, and there's no plastic tray. So all
yeah.
the time when we're developing
Great.
our products, we try to be more innovative in terms of our sustainability as well. So
I love that. That's great. So go on. The ideas then are you the ideas hub, Louise? Like,
well,
what's the team? Like,
well,
what's the
yeah. So me and my business partner Andy Valentine, we kind of come up with the ideas. I have to say, I like so the yard is a throwback from United Biscuits
yeah?
because I was there when they launched the yard of Jaffa. And oh my God, it was fantastic, and I
Yeah,
loved it. And we
yeah.
sold a boatload into Asda, and it sold really well. So those are the kind of ideas that we kind of come up with. We've got loads more in the pipeline for next year. We've got all these little gift bottles. Oh, the stocking as
They're
well.
brilliant.
Oh, a little stocking. So, have you heard of Christmas Eve hampers?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, Christmas Eve hampers big in America. I'd never heard of this 3 years ago. And then someone said to me, "Oh, we buy your stockings to put in our Christmas Eve hampers."
Really?
And I was what the hell is that? And it's a family occasion on Christmas Eve. You
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
box, it's full of pajamas and snacks and popcorn and chocolate and drinks and things. And then you sit down and have a family evening, which I thought was
Ah,
fantastic.
that's
So I
it.
do that now as well
So
with my
I've got some
family.
German friends that do that. They do like a big family hamper present on Christmas Eve, which is a bit of a German tradition. That's really
Yeah,
interesting. So
fantastic.
so for people that are inspired by your story and they're thinking, right, one day I want to have my own gig. I want to be able to kind of be at the helm of my own business. I mean, you've got a fascinating career where you understand snacking from a branding perspective, from a private label perspective. You've got that end to end view. Like, how do you think that's kind of influenced your success? Because you've obviously been successful trading for 6 years, growing, got through COVID, brilliant. Like, sort of what are some of the kind of key drawdowns from your career that you would say, you're looking back at it, do you know that set me up to have fun now and do what I want to be doing?
Oh my gosh. I have to say, for any budding entrepreneur that is in a job that they don't like or they don't think is adding value, actually, in every aspect of what I've done throughout my career has absolutely added value and enabled me to be the person that I am today and to run the successful business, to be a profitable, strong growing business. It is, you can pull each of the aspects out. So from down to I was a buyer
Mm,
at Safeway, so I really understand about negotiations. I
yeah,
really understand about um, uh, seeing when we get a good price. I understand about. I was a technologist, so in terms of all that NPD ideas, I come up with loads of NPD ideas. I mean, some work, some don't
yeah,
work, but what you have to do, you have to be bold, and you have to have the courage to be
yeah.
able to go out and do it. So
Mm,
having that passion for something really is really important. But all the technical skills that I've learned, so structured selling. So I worked for United Biscuits for a number of years, and their program of training and
yeah,
development was incredible. and it gave me a really good basis. So not only do I have the technology, and because I've got a degree in food science,
Brilliant.
Richard, can you believe it? I was in a lab on my own when
They
I
let you loose
left
on a lab in your
university.
own. Imagine the
Ah,
popcorn
ah.
creations.
Oh, I was so frustrated. I didn't realise I had an extrovert personality. But anyway,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
how, but it still works for me because actually the technical side of all of our products is really important to me.
yeah,
So if something isn't accredited and if a supply isn't accredited, can't give me certificates of conformance, I can't
yeah,
go in audit, can't get through a SEDEX questionnaire, I'm not interested because
yeah.
actually it's really important to me and my values and the company's values as well. So yeah,
So you've got that kind of
you know,
end-to-end kind of like functional view of the
I
different
know.
pieces in the puzzle, and
It,
just so always one of the questions that comes up quite a lot, kind of on the podcast and like other content we do, or like kind of marketing insights questions that Harry's been doing is people kind of want to know what does good look like, what fuels success. Like for someone that's maybe a NAM at the moment and they're thinking, right, I want to do something really interesting. Maybe it's working for a startup, maybe it's setting their own gig up, maybe it's just progressing through, but they know they need to kind of do their time, develop those kind of like core skills, like you said. Like, say you've got two types of them, we've got like one on private label side, you've got one on brand. Like, what sort of skills do they need to learn to win in those spaces? Maybe it's the same kind of skill set, but what would you say, like for an account manager, is like the core spine that they've absolutely got to make sure they deliver on this before they step onto the next level? This is what mastery looks like as a good account manager. Like, how would you sort of frame or term that?
yeah, well, I mean, certainly, I mean, I've had experience both in brand and own brand, and I've had experience both as a salesperson and also as a buyer
Yeah.
and also as a technology. So I've got a massive amount of experience, and the two things are really quite different.
Mm-mm-mm.
So so from a brand perspective, so when I was working in United Biscuits, we would be presented the brand, we would be given all the features and benefits of the brand,
Yeah.
we would be given the price, the recommended retail price, and we would be told to go out, and the finance team would give me a pot of money and said, right, grow the brand in yours customer, and this is the target you've got to achieve. So it was kind of like a bit spoon fed, and then
Mm.
the training in doing a structured sell, managing objections, and having a negotiation would kind of wrap it all up. In terms of own brand, that is completely different.
Mm.
And actually, from an account manager's perspective, you get exposed to a lot more of the buyer. So you get to know, so you have a conversation with the buyer on brand, but on own brand, you might have a conversation with the technical people, their supply chain
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
the buyer, their print company,
Yeah.
and also you would have to interact with your factory to make sure that they've got the capacity, so there's quite a lot of interactions, and I think probably much more touch points from an own brand perspective. And whereas marketing, if you've got a nice strong brand, you don't tend to, it's a kind of, here you go, this is a nice strong brand, we're going to support it, and the buyer kind of feels compelled to list it most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
On own brand, you might be up against quite a lot of other suppliers.
Mm.
So you've got to demonstrate how you can be different to other people, whether that's your service, your availability, the quality of your product. But really, it does come down to cost,
Yeah. Interesting.
and
Okay.
um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and there's no balance of power there. You don't have the balance of power
Mm.
unless you've got something particularly special. So it does come down to cost, and also having a opportunity to do an internet auction as as a little NAM.
Okay.
It is it can be really daunting because it
Yeah.
is like an internet. The time is coming down, the price is coming down. You've got your walk away, and you know that you can't go over your walk away, but
The
it's really
pressure that's
tempting to
putting you
do it
under. Yeah. Yeah.
because you know you're going to lose the business. It's there in front of you. Whereas in a standard negotiation, even if you lost the business, you wouldn't know about it. So,
That's really
but
interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
so I think you definitely need to have both attributes to move on.
So kind of like a really good understanding of like sort of sales process, the story, the assets, what makes it compelling. If you're selling a branding context, but for private label, it's more of that. Being curious, getting all over your costings, making sure there's no stone unturned in terms of unlocking that value for the customers. So you can get that competitive edge on quite skinny margins. I guess it's a sort of it's a difference in focus, isn't it, in terms of where your eyes are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then,
And sometimes I think that uh, own brand is kind of like a bit of understated, because it's own brand. We don't really want to deal with that, but it can be really important in terms of developing your customer relationship as
yeah,
well. So if you've got a strong branded business and also you've got a strong own label business as well with the customer, that can really help your relationship as well. Because you become, it's very convenient for the buyer just to have things in one place as well. So
yeah,
don't
yeah.
underestimate that, because buyers are really busy. Their job, they're dealing with 101 things every day. So it's good for them as well to have that that one stop shop, if you like.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like some of my favourite success stories in that SME snacking space in the last few years have actually played in both markets really successfully and just nailed the mix. So they've just been that go-to. Before they got sold, like the Co-Fresh Eat Real
Yes.
business in Leicester. I mean, they just did so well at like they pretty much invented the concept of those like blown like
Yes.
hummus chips. And we had some of the hummus shells in the office yesterday. They're so good. The amount of flavour they carried.
Yes.
But until they were doing that as Eat Real, like you didn't really see the products around, did you? And
No.
it was just somebody in the business had decided, so let's put a brand behind this because it's new. Let's go for it. And everyone's jumping on with the private label. But yeah, I just think it's a fascinating space. And like you were saying before, like British snacking, I think Brits are always after something new. Like I love the novelty factor, all the gifting stuff over there, because that's what makes me buy gifting for my family. Because particularly for my dad, it's hard to buy for. What he likes is like really good quality food. Like if you say to him, like, what do you want for Christmas? He's like, don't get me anything. Go on, Dad. What do you really want? Give me some nice cheese, Rich. And he doesn't want any cheese. What he wants is something that's like mad flavoursome, novelty cheese. If I could get him like a truckle that was like, yeah, or popcorn. Or popcorn. So,
Cheesy popcorn. How
cheesy
about that for
popcorn,
you, Dad? I'll send you some
100%.
samples, Rich.
He would love that cheesy popcorn. To be honest, I've not got his gift yet, so I need to take a trip down to the website later, don't I? But I just wanted to build on that because your channel experience is really interesting because you've pretty much done everything, and you've gone from like big, kind of like you said, private label malt tenders, big branded pictures with you out of biscuits, through to D2C, organic, low spend kind of marketing. It's all around the product and the concept. Like how do you sort of win in both? Like, what makes Popcorn Kitchen so successful in that sort of D2C gifting space at the moment? And how do you sort of then, within that kind of same vein, how do you wrap your head around what makes someone a really good salesperson within like, the big malts market as well? Can you just kind of paint the picture of those two worlds and what it's like to win in both for us?
Yeah. So, I mean, in my world, we don't work with all the big malts simply because we are pot by hand.
Yeah.
We're artisan, and actually the big malts aren't really interested in that because you can't really convey that on a
Mm,
supermarket shelf.
no.
So we tend to work with people like Selfridges, garden
Yeah,
centres,
yeah, yeah.
farm shops, because actually the people that go in there, they are more likely to buy artisan food. They've got more time. That they may have got more means to pay for these products
Yeah.
as well. And it is, I would say, it's less pressurized. It still has a pressure because you still need to convince a buyer that actually your products need to sell. But we've got quite a good story. We've got lots of good feedback from
Mm,
other um, buyers in the similar places as well. So we've got lots of great stories to tell people. Whereas I think in a now in the malts, I think it's uh, they are so big and their brand shares are so big as well. And if you're so I worked at United Biscuits, we had number one brand in biscuits, we had number two brand in snacks. So it was incredibly important because not only did you have to get it right for your company, if you are the number one brand in any category, then you have a responsibility for growing that category.
mm,
So it's not quite as easy. And specifically for a NAM in malts, I mean, my experience of malts, I mean, it's fantastic experience. But my finance man, if he was listening to this, Rob, he knows all about it. So me and Rob used to sit there writing joint business plans for the malts. So probably one of the most critical plans you would ever write for a malt, because what it gives you is it gives you the framework for all the initiatives and actions that the retailer is going to do within that specific year. So if you've got a really strong marketing plan with great innovation, you have to make sure that you get it listed within your customer. And also you can't, just ignore all of the other products you already have in there. So, things like share of distribution, share of space, promotional space, getting your MPD in front of the shopper, making sure you've got a really good in-store activation plan, but it all has to be documented within the JBP.
Yeah, yeah,
And for me, the work, I mean, you learn from experience, don't you, Rich, in life? So
100%.
the more ambiguous the wording, the more opportunity your plan won't be delivered as you thought you might.
Ah, okay. Yeah,
Because
yeah. Great point.
and selective amnesia, Rich, is amazing
Yeah,
because people forget. So unless you have it really detailed down, very specific in the plan, and then that's the initiative, there's the time and there's the investment I'm prepared to pay, then it can come a bit trickier if you're trying to make the retailer accountable. Now, most retailers, they're fair and they will work with you. But if there's any ambiguity, you're not going to get your plan.
great
And
point.
then
Yeah,
and then your finance manager would look at you and go, "Well, Louise, you didn't do that particularly well, did you? Because you didn't. Well, you were a bit ambiguous there in your language." So it's weird. It is a different challenge. And even if you don't have a joint business plan within the malts, the win is so big and the loss is so big. So, for now, now I'm starting out, I think they just have to relax around it and just think to themselves, right, okay, how can I make this compelling for the buyer to buy
yeah,
me?
yeah,
You know, because what they're looking for the commercial benefits of a category enhancing plan. Because
yeah,
it's
yeah,
no good going in with a product that's just going to steal or cannibalize from the rest of the category. And if you can do that in a compelling way and put some, maybe a little bit of money as an incentive for that, then you're usually successful.
yeah. Ah, that's really interesting, and just kind of taking it back into like your kind of space, like what? So you've been doing it. Is it nearly sort of 6 years now, Popcorn Kitchen?
Yes.
Yeah, and as
Yes.
so, I'm always fascinated when I speak to startups because it seems like things change and develop. You start off with an idea, and then before you know it, you've gone here, and then you're here again, and it kind of develops over time. Did you set out and think, right, I want to make this kind of concept gifting, and it's going to be premium, it's going to go into kind of independence in that sort of gifting retail space. Just give me a bit of an insight into kind of how that sort of channel journey's maybe changed or developed since you set it up. Because
Yeah. Snacking is a very crowded market, and you've got some really strong brands in
yeah,
there. So it was about understanding actually, you know, where are you likely to be most successful?
yeah,
Where is
yeah,
the need for your brand?
great.
Because ultimately, you have to launch products that resonate with people, which is why the nostalgia bit is really important. Because if people can see it and people can, like an old-fashioned selection box or a yard,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
people go, "Do you know what? I remember that," or that looks like really novelty. Or at this time of year, they're going, "Wow, that yard will fill my son's stocking up."
yeah,
So we get all these kind of bits of feedback, and I think it's for me. I think I've got more of a poetic license to produce more wacky. We are a gifting company full of developing big, large gifts,
yeah, yeah.
which are really innovative and different from what other brands are doing at the moment. And also, because we are small and artisan, we can do this stuff because people, bigger brands that mass market just can't because it's not cost effective for
Yeah,
them
true.
to suddenly get offline and start packing things by hand or popping the corn in in a little kettle to get it ready. So I think, and I mean, it certainly did develop through COVID because when COVID hit, like a lot of companies, shops closed, and all of a sudden we lost our mainstream of revenue. So I was sitting back thinking, what am I going to do now? And we looked at hamper companies. So hamper companies actually in COVID did really well because everyone was online. So we developed our online offering and we worked with hamper companies. So our little bags like this
Nice.
go into thousands and thousands of hamper companies. And now we have a really thriving hamper company business. And that wouldn't have happened necessarily, Rich, without the shock of COVID, because like anybody going through COVID, you either had a choice. You could either, give it all up, and or you could survive. And that's what we did. We adapted, we changed, and we actually survived. And bizarrely, COVID was our biggest ever year
Really? Wow. That's fascinating.
until last year, when it was our biggest ever year, or until this year, which is our biggest ever year. So we've effectively doubled our business in the last 2 years,
That's fantastic. That's
which
really good.
helped by a little bounce back loan
Yeah.
and a deferral of that. But we're really grateful for
That's what
for
it was there
that.
for, though,
So
wasn't it?
it was it, and I think for me, I know people say about the government, but actually, for me and my business, I wouldn't have survived without that help. So
So cheers, Rishi, if he's listening.
thanks, Richie. Good man.
As well as Joe. Rishi, I'm sure I do actually think Rishi and Joe are watching, so it's good to have the shout out.
I know, Richie, come on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So just because you've obviously had just so many different kind of facets to leadership in your career and in what you're doing at the moment. I wonder if I could just kind of take you into what you think makes or what qualities you think make a good sales leader, and what you think people need to double down on to kind of progress through to director level, or to kind of get to that point where they've got the headspace, set their own business up. Because there's a difference between being a sort of a technical leader, kind of operationally day to day, and being somebody that's then kind of able to kind of get out the fishbowl and look at things from a wide angle perspective and take that sort of 360 strategic approach. Can you sort of talk me through what people need to double down on in that sort of technical phase, and then the other aspects of sales leadership that people need to kind of develop into to do the big picture strategy stuff as well? Because that's often the part people can't quite get their heads around, is how do I get from here, doing and doing very well at it, to kind of getting over here where people trust me to paint the big picture and get buy-in on the journey.
Yes, I mean, I'm really driven, Rich. Right?
Yeah, it's a good point. You've got to want it, haven't you?
And well, so the first things first is that you've got to understand where you're going in life. And I know it's a bit of a cliche, what are you going to be doing in 10 years' time, Rich? But actually, it is really important to understand that, because if you don't know where you're going, how can you create your roadmap to get there? So I was really single-minded with it. So, when you get into your career, start learning all the technical aspects of your job, and people tell you and share their experience and share their knowledge, and you take all that on board. But actually, when people say to you, what do you want to do next? And you go, oh yeah, I want to do this next. But there's no plan, then you don't really understand or know whether you're on the right path or not. So, so having been in manufacturing, having been a technologist, a buyer, and all these things, I came into sales, and actually, it was like a duck going into water. I loved it because I get an opportunity to taste great products, work with some great people, and go and sell this stuff to buyers. I loved it, and I loved the challenge of it all. And it was very technical. But for me, I wanted to be a sales director. I wanted to have a team of people. I wanted to be sat on a board. I wanted to have all of that experience. So I set out, and I've still got it. Rich, that just demonstrates it? I should frame it really, because it was effectively a 10-year plan.
Love it.
For me to get from where I was to where I needed to get to, and what are the steps that I needed to take. And so I got loads of feedback on it. I shared it with my line manager. He was like, "That really? You're doing this?"
I've genuinely never heard anybody sort of describe putting together a plan in that level of detail. It's fascinating. It's clearly worked for you. It's great.
Oh no! Well, the thing is, so people, if you get loads of feedback, I got loads of 360. I got some, brutal feedback. I got some really great feedback.
Popcorn. No, I'm joking.
No, it wasn't. No, it was about me. Anyway, so because I am intense, right? And I'm, do you know Insight Colours, Rich?
Yes. Yeah. We've done them.
So I'm a red.
I can tell. Yeah. Same.
Right?
Yeah.
red and yellow, and I used to dial up my blue energy when I was dealing with my finance team.
But
I got all that feedback from lots of different colour energies as well. So I was able to not only focus on the technical stuff, but also the softer side. So how to work with individuals, adapt my style to get the best out of people. Because when you become a sales director, looking after 72 people, you've got very, very different personalities in there. They respond in different ways. So it was critically important that I had the kind of technical competencies, which included things like, you know, strategic management, strategic thinking, how to have a helicopter view when you're in the treacle, to try and get
Yeah,
yourself out of
great.
it, to work with people, the team working element, how to develop relationships, and also, so not all the kind of like stuff you want to do internally, but then also the customer management side of how to get, the best out of your relationships with your buyers, get feedback. They say feedback's a gift. It really truly is,
Yeah.
if you want to get to uh, your goal.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Oh, that's fascinating. No, well, look, I'm aware we're kind of like we've got about 3 minutes left on this call, so I just want to make sure that people get an insight into what's next at Popcorn Kitchen. For those watching and listening who are now feeling hungry and want to go and sample the products, tell them what they should buy. It's Christmas coming up. What do they need to go and get? Maybe they'll be watching this in the new year and they're thinking, right, somebody's birthday's coming up or Easter's coming up. What should they buy first? And also, what's next around the corner for Popcorn Kitchen and you?
okay, in a nutshell, the number one selling bottle. You never get Joe Wicks.
The
If
big
Joe Wicks
bottle.
is
Check
good enough
out
for
Joe.
Joe
Joe loves a
Wicks,
bottle.
you check him out on his Instagram. That's the number one selling gift at Christmas. For any popcorn fiends, that's perfect. Yard. Oh.
That's great.
The yard is also filling his stocking. Those teenagers, as they get older, their presents get smaller but more expensive. Need something to bulk out their stockings. Buy a yard. Or if you really like a selection of our gourmet hand pot popcorn, then our selection box goes down a treat. So
Great.
next year we've got bigger, better innovation. We've got loads of new things coming out for Easter, but it's all about quality, innovation, and creating special gifts for people.
Smashing. Oh, thanks, Louise. It's been an absolute blast. Really, really fun doing it and hearing more about your story at Popcorn Kitchen, what you're up to. If you've been watching or listening, please do reach out to Louise. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time, because anyone coming onto this podcast, it's all about investing back into the industry, and people just give it the time so that you can get insights into leadership. Louise, just very quickly, tell people where they can find you. Are you on LinkedIn? Is the business on Instagram? Where can they follow the business and yourself?
Yeah, we're on Instagram. We're go over to our website www.popcornkitchen.co.uk. We've got some great deals on at the moment as well. So pop over there. We're on LinkedIn, Twitter.
Smashing. That's great. Well, look, thanks for listening. Thanks so much to everyone that's joined us today on this. We'll see you next time. And if you've got any recommendations on interesting, exciting businesses, products that you'd like us to talk to, get under the skin of, drop us a note, and we'll catch you soon.